Hello learners, welcome to today's session. This is regarding the postgraduate diploma in environmental and occupational health, block 3. In today's session, we will be talking about electronic waste. You must have heard about the e-waste or the electronic waste. So let us see what it is, from where it is coming out, what are the effects of electronic waste on environment, on our health, and what can be done, how we can save our planet from the electronic waste which is increasing in volume year by year. What do we mean by e-waste? What is an electronic waste? Learners, technically for electronic waste we use the term WEEE, WEEE, that means waste, electrical and electronic equipment. But commonly, as you know, it is e-waste or the electronic waste. So it encompasses all those discarded electrical and electronic devices. You look around and you find yourself in, you can say, between the electronic gadgets which are surrounding us. We are surrounded by a lot of electronic devices at our homes, at our workplaces, wherever we go. Most of our work which we have been doing has been made comfortable because of these electronic items. Our life is made more convenient. We can do things faster and more efficiently with the help of these electronic gadgets that we see all around. Of course, they are very useful. But then just think about it, when they are not useful, when they are not working, we discard them, we throw them, we give it to kabadi walas. Then what is the fate of these electronic devices? Look at your hands, you find your mobile device. How many times you change your handsets? In 2 or 3 years at the max? Every year? In the worst case? What happens to that device? Where does it go? Have you ever thought? Similar is the case with the domestic appliances which we have been using in our homes. Washing machines, TVs, printers, your you can say watches, all your help in the kitchen, you see your mixers, grinders, toasters. The list is very, very long. So it is very essential to know more about this kind of waste which is increasing. And with the digitalization beginning, with the COVID era, which we find that it is very essential to go digital, what will happen next? It's a serious question. Now, there are some scary figures which alarm us about this problem. India generates around 3 million tons of electronic waste annually. And if you look at the whole world, we are at number 3rd after China and United States. By the end of 2021, it is predicted that the generation of electronic waste may increase to around 5 million tons. And just now, as we were talking about in the COVID era, with you going more for online shopping, learning, teaching going online, and most of the things which we are doing with the help of our mobiles, our laptops, the purchase of these devices has grown many-fold. In a single family of 4, you find 4 laptops, 4 mobiles and lots many other electronic devices. So when COVID-19 during the lockdown, when people were indoors, the usage of electronics went much higher. And just imagine the pace at which we are buying and using these devices, what will happen after 4 years or 5 years when these devices are not working and we are forced to throw them. So, the only way forward for we as a consumer or some company as the producer of these devices, there is only option is 4R, that is reuse, repair, recycle and research. Particularly, you must have heard about 5Rs, 3Rs, but generally we talk about solid waste, we talk about these Rs, but as far as electronic waste is concerned, these 4Rs, particularly reuse, repair, recycle and research, they become all the more important. So, does it get collected? Don't you see this trend that whenever our charger is not working, we mix it with our household waste. We give it to the kabadi walas for very, you can say, petty amount. So, India collected just 10% of the electronic waste in 2018-19 and it was 3.5% in 17-18. This is according to the report which is being released by Central Pollution Control Board. What does this show? This shows the tendency that we do not have any mechanism of collecting the electronic waste separately. This is a small fraction, however, when you consider the bigger appliances like your fridge and TV and washing machines at your homes, normally we do not throw it, we give it to someone. But when it comes to smaller devices, for example, torch is there, your charger is there, printed circuit boards are there, normally we mix it with the household waste that is being thrown away from our homes. It is with them. So, in the absence of proper collection, it is very difficult to manage the electronic waste in a more scientific manner, in a more proper manner. What are the sources? Learners, let us not talk about the sources. From where does it come out? However, when I give you an example, that just look around, you can number 5, 10, 15, 20 devices which you come across daily, which can be the potential source of electronic waste in future. But broadly, we categorize the electronic waste sources into 4 parts. Number 1 is at our homes, hospitals, government and private sectors. So, at your homes you find you have a laptop, you have TV, you have cell phones, you have washing machines, you have toasters, many may be having printers and such type of helpful devices. Electric gadgets, electric kettle you may be having, electric toaster you may be having, mixers you may be having. So, the list is very long at your homes because you do lot many things with the help of gadgets nowadays. Now, look at the hospitals. The different monitors and different testing devices and the different medical aids which help us to treat ourselves. The different types of pathology labs also, you find so many types of devices, whether it is ultrasound or x-ray. These machines contain lot of they may be the potential source of electronic waste. So, even the microscopes are there, or you can say incubators are there. These are even the PCs, they are also there in the hospitals. Then look at any government office, whether it is a service sector or a manufacturing sector, you find PCs, you see fax machines over there, you see Xerox machines, tube lights, air conditioners, very common, any dam office will be having these type of devices. And similar is the case with the private sectors. Having lot of coffee machine, if it is there, then that is also a source of electronic waste. As simple as that. Then you have other sources including your printers and tablets and you can say scanners, what not, the projectors which we use. So, these are some of the broad categories. However, when you divide it according to the type of the electronic waste, they may further be categorized, but as far as broad categorization is concerned, they are the main sources where you find the electronic waste generated in huge amounts. What does it contain? When I say electronic waste, I don't know what it contains, because my charger also is a potential source of electronic waste, and also the ACs or the geysers which you are using. What does it contain? Yes, it does contain the hazardous substances and also the non-hazardous substances. Mainly, it is said that 37% of any electronic device which we are throwing is made up of glass, 33% is metals in the form of iron, cadmium, arsenic, chromium, and the plastic. The composition of plastic is 30% in any electronic device. So, that is also a worrisome fact. Similarly, There may be ferrous and non-ferrous metals. As I say, that metals constitute 33% of these devices. Then there is maybe the composition of wood, ceramics, rubber, and hazardous nature of electronic waste is basically because of the presence of elements like lead is there, mercury is there, arsenic, cadmium, selenium, all heavy metals, they are there in the electronic equipments which we are using very commonly. So, when we throw all these items which contain, there is a great deal of threat to the environment also, and to the person who is handling these devices when it is in a thrown away stage. So, as I said earlier, categorically we have, according on the basis of the sources, we have divided from where they are coming, but there are different types of electronic waste. Broadly, they are put it as temperature exchange equipments contain electronic waste. What does it mean, temperature exchange equipments? That means your ACs, your thermostats which you are using, geysers which you are using, heaters which you are using, blowers which you are using, then screens and monitors of the different medical equipments also, the PCs also, the laptops also, screen of your cell phone also. So, they contain the glass particularly. Then we have the lamps, CFL lamps which we are using, tube lights, hoardings that also contain the different types of lamps and CFLs in them. So, when discarded and mixed with the municipal waste, they cause a lot of dangers to our health and to the environment. Then there are large equipments, refrigerators, double door refrigerators you are having, washing machines you are having, TV sets you are having, which are huge, large equipments. In industries you find large equipments. You have different types of photocopy machines that will also become the part of the large equipments which are the sources of electronic waste. Then small equipments, as I said, hair dryer which you use, in different cosmetic appliances which we are using. In our homes, the small equipments which you are using, right from the digital watch that you have or digital alarm which you have, or the different aids which you use in your homes, maybe the electric razor if you are using, or any sort of electric equipment, because it is very common nowadays to use these equipments. And they are, if you count the number of electronic and electrical equipments in your home, the numbers may be more than 50 and 60 if you are a large family. Similarly, small IT and telecommunications, as I said, the different PCs, the different mobiles which you are using, and also the cables which we put for setting up communications and telecommunications. So, they are the main, you can say the main categories of the different types of the electronic waste which are coming out from various sources. And if you say that again there is a different way of putting these electronic waste, they may be IT and telecommunication equipment, just now we were talking about. So, that consists of your personal computers, laptops, printers, chargers, cartridges, photocopying machines, typewriters. Many times at many offices you are using telephones, cordless phones, answering machines, pagers and all. And similarly, consumer electronics like TV sets, refrigerators, air conditioners, that also includes the centralized air conditioning plants which you see in your offices and malls, and at so many places it is very common to find such type of systems. So, they contain electric and electronic components in various parts and the subparts. So, if not handled carefully, there are chances that it will release those harmful chemicals and the elements which we were referring to, and these will be released in different compositions and in different fragile ecosystems. So, that poses a threat to the ecosystems and also to the biodiversity. So, this is just a figure to tell you that out of the different types of electronic waste which we are referring to, 68% is emitted by the computer equipments, and computer equipments is your PCs, your laptops, your tablets, iPads, different things which we are using. Then around 5% is your domestic appliances, 8% is electrical equipments, 12% is telecommunications, and 7% is medical instruments. So, you can see by this figure that basically electronic waste is problematic because of the computer equipments which we are using in our offices, in our banks, in our malls, in our different service sectors, including the hotels and the restaurants, and also in the government bodies, private sectors, schools, colleges, and you can say where they are not present, they are present everywhere. So, that is around 68%. So, how does we describe the life cycle? It is very easy to go and purchase these electronic gadgets which are available at a very cheaper prices nowadays. But when it comes to life cycle of these products, because there was a time when these electronic products had a life of more than 5 years and 6 years, maybe exceeding 10 years. But today if you see the life cycle, or you can say the life of these electronic products has been reduced. They are actually planned for obsolescence. This is a term which says that these products are it is called planned obsolescence, where the product is designed in such a manner that it does not last for a longer period of time. So, when it comes to disposal of these electronic gadgets, the life cycle starts with the e-waste collection. The first and the foremost step in proper e-waste management is collection. There should be mechanism by the companies itself who are selling these electronic gadgets that these items will be collected back, or there should be a kind of a deposit scheme where the consumers can go and deposit these electronic items when they are non-functional. So, after collection, sorting, transportation, and then comes the stage of e-waste treatment, which may be done by the formal or the informal sector. So, it includes the steps such as maybe dismantlization, disassembly, or shredding of different fractions of those electronic big items which we are giving away at the collection centers. So, there are different steps and different mechanism of treating this electronic waste. More than 90% of the electronic waste in our country is treated by informal sector in a very hazardous and non-scientific methods, because electronic waste can be made of a part of the solution, because it contains very precious elements, and the only method which is being followed by either dissolving in strong acids to get those elements back, and the processes are totally non-scientific and hazardous to the health of the person who is handling this electronic waste in this manner. And then comes the stage. So, after treatment has to be done formally by authorized recyclers and dismantlers. And then comes the stage of e-waste disposal, because after the metal recovery has been done in the treatment stage, the remaining e-waste fractions may be disposed properly in landfills or may be directly incinerated. Incineration is burning at a very high temperature. So, the burning of only those components of electronic waste should be done which does not contain any hazardous substances, because if you burn the electronic waste directly, which is also a common practice at many places, the burning directly in incinerations leads to pollution of various kinds, also the air pollution, and if you are throwing it on the land or in the water, it may cause land pollution or the water pollution. So, what are the effects? What happens if I do not follow all these steps, and if I am not into proper scientific recycling? It leads, as I mentioned, either the electronic waste is burnt. If it is burnt, it causes air pollution. If it is lying in the landfills, maybe we throw away so many things along with our normal household waste. It may be there in the landfills for several years. In that case, it pollutes water, it leads to groundwater pollution, soil contamination, and ultimately it will be in the food chain in a more magnified manner, because you must be knowing about the phenomena of biomagnification, because of which the elements, when they are in the water and the soil and they enter the food chain, with every step the concentration increases, and that has particularly happened in case of mercury, in case of cadmium. So, huge quantities of waste which is being generated is a worrisome factor, because the rate of consumption of electronic goods particularly has risen like anything. We are using very commonly these electronic items without thinking, because after this pandemic is over, we will be fighting with another pandemic of waste, whether it is in the form of the plastic waste or it is in the form of the electronic waste. So, something must come up, initiatives, regulations must be in place, and instead of planned obsolescence, the goods must be planned to refurbish, so that they can be used again. Some mechanism should be there. However, there are companies like IBM, HCL, they are encouraging this practice where they have kept a kind of a concession. If you bring back the old device and you purchase the new, you may get some sort of concession, some kind of discount, because you encourage the proper recycling and collection of those electronic items. So, you must be knowing about the EPR, that is the extended producer responsibility. So, as a manufacturer of those electronic items, the responsibility does not end with the selling of that product, but it is the extended producer responsibility, where I should also be conscious that how will the product be disposed of. Along with that, now we are also talking about extended consumer responsibility, because as a consumer we also have a responsibility. There are different ways by which we can reduce the amount of electronic waste which is being generated at our homes, at our offices. So, there are effects which are on human health also. For example, lead, it may damage your nervous system. Cadmium causes itai disease, which is very common, leads to different type of deformities in children. Mercury damages the immune system, also has a role in the skin diseases or harming the infants. Then chromium is a potential cause of different kinds of lung cancers, DNA damage. Similarly, barium, it leads to damage to heart muscles. Short term exposure, if it is there, it leads to muscle weaknesses. Similarly, beryllium is carcinogenic in nature, it causes lung cancer. When you inhale the fumes and dust, it causes respiratory ailments, it also causes skin diseases such as warts formation. So, electronic waste particularly, we should be more sensitized about the person who is handling this electronic waste, because once we give away the electronic gadgets which we are not using, somewhere it is being handled, or you can say mishandled, by the informal workers. So, they are manually you can say dismantling them, shredding them and exposing themselves to different types of these harmful chemicals. So, most of the waste workers, particularly you find there is a large chunk of the children who are involved in informal recycling, whether it is the collection, whether it is you can say handling of these electronic waste. So, whatever the impact we are talking of the electronic waste on human health, it is more concerned about those workers, you know, who deal, who collect, who sort out, who you can say segregate them, then also handle them in different ways. So, how should we dispose at them? What can be done? So, there are different, as I said, it should be designed in such a manner that it can be reused. Secured landfill is an option, incineration is an option, recycling through formal authorized recyclers and dismantlers, and reuse is very important, because there are products which we are not using, but we can give it to somebody. We can repair our electronic gadgets. The tendency should be using less of these devices, and then we should try to give it to someone, because most you must have heard about this thing, that the electronic waste of the developed nations comes to the developing countries like us. Most of, you can say, computers and all, you know, at a cheaper prices we are getting, but it is containing lot of electronic waste. So, how we are reusing it, how we are recycling it, that is very important. And in this also the different stakeholders who as a user of these devices, or the producers, or the traders, or the generators, scrap dealers, waste collectors, everybody has a role in this. So, that in that way only we will be able to dispose the electronic waste in a more scientific manner, because many have termed this electronic waste as a coming tsunami. After several years, we will be struggling to find a place where to discard this electronic waste. And those scary pictures you must have seen, there are places, if you look, Bombay in our country, Mumbai is the largest generator of electronic waste, Bangalore is a main generator, Delhi is a main generator, there is no space left. So, something scientific should be done in this regard. So, there are different components of electronic waste which can be reused, like plastic, glass, metal, printed circuit boards. So, we can conclude that electronic waste comprises of hazardous substances. It is generated from variety of the sources. It poses health risks to elderly, to children, to the waste workers. Also, it is a threat to the environment if it is burnt or it is improperly disposed of. We have learnt about the different composition of the electronic waste. It is a problem today, but this problem can be converted into opportunity if we take in circular economy, where we use the components of electronic waste through recycling. Then we are able to address this problem in a more scientific manner. Thank you.